Hello, and thank you for joining us for episode 16 of The Agenda. My name is Gia Drew. I'm the program director at Equality Maine, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
And I'm Jake Karras. I'm the Grassroots Advocacy Coordinator here at Equality Maine, and my pronouns are he and him.
If you have any questions, feel free to post in the comments section, and one of our staff will try to get back to you as soon as possible. So thank you for joining us or watching this video. We unfortunately do not have an interpreter today, so we would encourage you to turn on your captioning through Facebook or YouTube.
So this afternoon, we're just going to be talking about some of the recent things that have been happening in the state legislature as we enter the last couple of weeks of this session. So first up, we had some interesting movement on Thursday with what's called the biennial budget. So on Thursday, the Appropriations and Financial Affairs Committee had their public hearing on the governor's change package for the state's budget, which covers the next 2 years. So there are a ton of things in the proposed budget, and there were a lot of people speaking for what they find important. But the one thing that we're really concerned about there is that it does account for the anticipated loss of revenue from ending the sale of flavored tobacco, which is an issue that we've been working on throughout the session. So we've talked about this bill a couple of times now, Representative Meyer's bill that would end the sale of flavored tobacco. And the industry is really paying attention on this. Tobacco industry lobbyists have showed up consistently to prevent the passage of this bill and to object to the governor's change package. Reynolds American, the manufacturer of Newports, has hired lobbyists that have showed up very consistently. So we'll keep you updated as the Appropriations Committee negotiates the budget in the coming weeks, and we certainly hope that that revenue is accounted for in the final budget.
Yeah, thanks for the update, Jake. I think it's really important. So a lot of other action this week as well in the Judiciary Committee related to the trans bills. So on Thursday, the Judiciary Committee held work sessions on all 3 of the anti-trans bills that we've been working against. As a reminder, 2 of the bills attempt to prohibit trans women and girls from participating in sports, while the 3rd bill would allow women's shelters to turn away trans women. At the public hearing, it was about 2 weeks ago, we joined together with our allies, Maine Transnet, GLAAD, ACLU of Maine, Maine Women's Lobby, and many other allies, pediatricians, coaches, experts on sports medicine, university administrators, student athletes, domestic violence advocates, and folks who run shelters in our state to oppose these terrible bills. It really was a great outpouring of support against these dangerous bills. In contrast, most of the people speaking in favor of these bills weren't even from Maine. It's clear that these bills are part of a nationwide anti-trans agenda, but it was awesome to see so many Mainers stepping up and saying, not in our state, especially youth. That was really empowering to see so many young people step up and support transgender youth. The committee was clearly paying attention and listening to the experts instead of the out-of-state extremists. And when they voted yesterday, a majority voted against these terrible bills. The full House and the Senate will be voting in the coming weeks, but we are well on our way to defeating these bills and protecting the rights of trans girls and women in our state. So that's a really good update.
Thanks, Jim. So this morning was another bill that we testified in support for, and I need to provide a little bit of background because this one's not strictly as LGBTQ focused as a bit of the others, but there's really important implications for our community. So the bill was an act to amend the bail code sponsored by Rachel Talbot Ross of Portland here. And it does a couple of things, but of the big parts, it eliminates cash bail for low-level crimes, and it also allows for broader discretion in the setting of bail. So what that means is that judicial officers can take more factors into consideration when they set bail, such as whether the defendant would lose employment or if they're being treated for a condition like substance use disorder that is managed better outside of jail than inside. So that's really important because we know that even a really short time in jail, even over a weekend, can cause somebody to lose employment, fall out of medical treatment, or even lose custody of their children. So this larger discretion can help defendants avoid those situations. The other big part that a lot of people were really supportive of is that the bill eliminates cash bail for a lot of low-level offenses. So those are Class E offenses here in Maine. So that cash bail refers to the amount of money that one person must pay to secure their release in advance of a trial. So again, these people are defendants. They're accused of crimes, but they are not convicted of them, and they're awaiting their trial. And in Maine, for those low-level offenses, that's usually about $700. So this is particularly important for us because cash bail, as such a large dollar value, disproportionately burdens poor people, including Black Americans, women, and LGBTQ folks. Members of our community deal with higher rates of poverty, so it shouldn't be surprising that LGBTQ folks are overrepresented in jails and prisons nationwide. That's especially true for LGBTQ women. A surprisingly large portion of women who are incarcerated are lesbian or bisexual. And a lot of that has to do to their inability to pay bail. And further, a lot of people also end up pleading guilty to crimes and forego their trial in the hopes that they can just reduce their overall time in prison too. So the hearing this morning went really well. We had a lot of our other friendly organizations there, including the ACLU, GLAAD, the Health Equity Alliance, the Maine Prisoner Advocacy Coalition, and even drug policy experts, formerly incarcerated people, and attorneys as well. So it was a really good hearing, and we're really working hard to make sure that bill makes it past the finish line.
Great, Jake. That's a really great update. You really explained that really well, because that could be pretty complicated to understand what it's like related to bail. So that's really great. I think we're going to shift now from politics a little bit and turn to COVID updates. You want to get us started?
Yeah, sure. So we do have some really good news to share about how things are going in the state. One really awesome statistic is that Maine is really far ahead of the national average in fully vaccinated people. So we're at just about half of Mainers are fully vaccinated, relative to about 40% of the total US population. And then just this week, the governor's office released a lot more granular data on vaccination rates by zip code. So you can now see what portion of people in your town have gotten at least one dose. So coastal areas in Maine appear to have the highest vaccination rates. Here in Portland, about 75% of folks have at least one dose. Some rural areas are a little bit behind, but still tracking at about the national average of about 60% of people with one dose, which provides you with really good immunity against COVID-19. And the other fun thing is Maine launched an incentive program to encourage people to get vaccinated. So if you're holding out and you haven't gotten your first dose yet, you can actually receive a fishing or hunting license, an LL Bean gift card, or tickets to a Portland Sea Dogs game if you get vaccinated between now and the end of the month. So there'll be a link in the comments in case you're interested in getting in on that.
Yeah, that's great. I've been noticing some other incentive programs around the country. And so, yeah, you probably don't have a reason like now. I think there are so many clinics all across the state for people to walk right in. But you can get a fishing license or a hunting license or an LL Bean card. I think that's really cool. And there's been a lot of conversation around mask wearing. I think it's been a little confusing between what the federal government's saying, what the state is saying, or even what your work is saying about wearing masks. But Dr. Shaw yesterday, or on Wednesday on his weekly update, laid out some pretty clear guidelines for us to think about how do we wear masks moving forward. So first, the governor's mask mandate that's been in place for quite a long time will go away officially on May 25th. I think that a lot of people are excited by that, but it also raises some questions. So if you're not fully vaccinated, wearing a mask on an indoor public setting is going to be expected of you. If you're fully vaccinated, that means you've been at least 2 weeks post having your second dose of Pfizer or Moderna or your single dose of J&J. Ask yourself this question: where you're going. If you're going to a healthcare facility, a school or daycare, or using public transportation, wearing a mask is good public health. So please continue to wear your mask if you're going into those places. Finally, if you're going into a business that requires folks to wear a mask, please oblige and wear a mask. Carry it around with you wherever you go, because you don't know where you're going to end up, and wear a mask. And be mindful that not everyone is where you are during this transition period. So be smart, be respectful, and be considerate.
Awesome. Thanks for that update, Gio.
All right. Yeah, sure.
I believe that about does it. I know we have a bit of a short episode this afternoon. Hope people can get out and enjoy the nice weather. Our next agenda is going to be on Tuesday, June 1st to kick off Pride Month, which is only about a week and a half away now. So our development director, Chris O'Connor, will be joined by some Pride organizers from around the state to talk about what's being planned for Pride 2021. And then lastly, there'll be a link in the chat that you can use to register for our evening phone banks that we're using to generate opposition to the anti-trans legislation that Gia had mentioned previously. So if you'd like to join us this Sunday evening at 6 o'clock, we'll be calling constituents across the state to make sure that they put pressure on their legislators to defeat this legislation.
Yeah, that's great. I think another urgent call for people to help in those phone calls. I know as it moves to the full floor of the House and the Senate, we need to be sure to reach those people so they understand how important it is to defeat these bills. So if you have the opportunity to sign up in phone bank, we really appreciate it. But I think that's it for today, isn't it, Jake? That's a pretty short show.
I believe it is.
Well, everyone, thanks for tuning in or watching the video. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time on the agenda on June 1st. So take care and have a good weekend.